And then there is this Emergency Essential Power Ordinance number 10, 1969, dated 8 November 1969, in a gazette which enforced Continental Shelf Act 1966 and Petroleum Mining Act 1966. You see, before this period, before 1969, they have passed a law called the Continental Shelf Act 1966 and the Petroleum Mining Act 1966. Both of these laws cannot be applied in Sabah and Sarawak in 1966 without the consent of our state government. So they waited until the state of emergency, then they gazette these two acts to be applicable to Sabah and Sarawak. This is the Continental Shelf Act. If you observe, that one there, that was made on the 8th of November 1969. Very clear, during the emergency. And the law gazetted under the emergency power and Parliament was suspended at that time. So that means now, after 8th of November 1969, the continental shelf of Sabah and Sarawak belongs to the federal government. This is what the Act talk about. In this Act, unless the context otherwise required, continental shelf means the seabed, subsoil, and submarine area adjacent to the coast of Malaysia, but beyond the limits of the territorial water of the state. That means they reduce you to 3 nautical miles, the rest they take through this Act. This is to synchronize the Emergency Essential Powers Ordinance number 7 with the Continental Shelf Act 1966. In the case of Sabah and Sarawak, the federal government can only claim the territorial water beyond 350 miles. That is if there was no state of emergency. If they want to take territorial waters, yes, they can take, but beyond the 350 miles. Below 350 miles belong to the respective state. So the federal government limit the extent of every state territorial water to 3 nautical miles, so that the rest of the territorial water now belongs to the federal government. But this was done without the consent of the states as provided by the Constitution. They break every state's land law and make unconstitutional provision in the federal law to justify what they were doing. So in 1969, they take over the territorial water forcefully and all our oil and gas reserve in 1969. So they took that in 1969, okay?